The International Olympic Committee has ruled that athletes will not be permitted to wear Black Lives Matter apparel during the Tokyo Olympics. The IOC revealed weeks ago it would consider punishing any athletes involved in protests or demonstrations during the ceremonies or on the podium, specifically forbidding it. This week, the IOC said any items of clothing featuring slogans like Black Lives Matter will not be allowed.
A kind of boycott for whatever reason is against this mission of the Olympic Games, and I ask them to respect this political neutrality of the Olympic Games, and by not using them there as a stage for their political purposes.
Here to discuss this topic are our monthly contributors, Assistant Student Minister of the Southwest Region, Brother Eric Muhammad, and Student Minister Quran X Muhammad Mosque number 18. Thank you, brothers, for joining us once again on NNV Network News.
Thank you,
Thank you for having us.
So we'll get straight to it. And I'll start with you, Brother Eric, and then we'll go to our brother Quran. So what are your thoughts about the IOC's decision to ban any apparel being worn during the ceremonies and or on the podium?
Well, beloved, I think they're entering into a slippery slope of defining what is protest. Because when you think about it, we have different cultures that are coming to the Olympics. So how are you going to measure an athlete's response to a protest? And my coaches say that when I take a picture and I might want to chill, right, is fold my arms and just chill. Is that a protest being against being lame? Right? What about it? What about if I wear a shirt that just says "Live Black"? Right? How are you going to define black? Right? So I think they're going into a slippery slope. But also when you look at the IOC, what you're also looking at is consistent promotes what they call national jingoism, which also deals with extreme patriotism and also deals with nationalism at the games. As far as when they do the national anthem, when the gold medalists, that country get to hear their national anthem while the other spectators got to sit and listen, stand and watch. Also in 1936 from Berlin, when despite that Adolf Hitler showcased that Germans was the master race. So I think what they're falling into is a very slippery slope of definition of what is protest and what is not protest.
Yes, sir. And Brother Quran?
Yes, sir. Just looking into it and diving a little deeper after hearing about this news, we find out that the IOC has a committee of over 103 members, and these members are all of the international family. And out of the 103 members, there are also an additional 45 honorary members. But going further, there are 2 members above the honorary status, and they're called honored members. One of those members, we find out, is a name that's very familiar to us, Henry Kissinger. So the question becomes, what is the mindset that's behind this whole entire international organization? For those who don't remember, Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State under the Nixon administration. And so he wrote what was called then the NSSM 200 report. And in this, it identified the third world countries and the growing population within these third world countries, or the original people of the planet, as the #1 enemy to national security here in America. He further went to produce the Global 2000 report that essentially made America's international policy the #1 idea was to call the population by 2 billion people on the planet. And call is another word for eliminate, kill, to cut back the population of the planet. So when we hear about sports, we know from the Roman games that sports alone even is a distraction. So what is these Olympic Games? What is the mindset behind it? We find out from names like Henry Kissinger, the mindset may be a little satanic, and this thing may be deeper than what we even believe on surface.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. And so, Brother Eric, in regards to this, even though I know that they're banning this, there's that iconic image of the brothers holding their fist up during one of the Olympics in the 70s or the 60s, right? If there were any protests or demonstrations with this ban being implemented, what do you think will be the impact of such activities if some athletes decide that I'm going to wear this anyway?
Well, again, how are you going to the IOC in coming up with different punishments? How are you going to measure that? They don't even know that. That's why they never said what they're going to do, because what you have is the NOC, the National Organizing Olympic Committee, a National Olympic Committee, of America, that is putting this out to the IOC. Because as you notice, even in the 60s, before there was social media, they never wanted our plight to go to the UN, the plight of Black people in America. They don't want the Black people's cause, what's going on in America, to be on the world stage.
That's right.
See, so again, it's a slippery slope. I think they throwing stuff against the wall to see if it stick. However, how many people are actually going to watch the Olympics versus if LeBron James decided to put on a shirt in his hotel room, because they did say that you can wear it, but just not at the event. You can actually do in the press conferences and interviews, right? You can also put your platform on digital or traditional media, other platforms. So LeBron James have millions of followers. These individuals have millions of followers. So the protests at the Olympics would get out even further reach than it would be individuals watching it on the IOC or whatever, Channel 2, NBC, which they'll be watching.
Right. Great point, Brother Karan. Brother Eric brought up, a very great point about this in regards to America not wanting the plight of Black people to be brought on a national stage. So, right. And I find it interesting that the slogan Black Lives Matter has been mentioned specifically in the articles. Do you think this ruling could be a result of the U.S. using its governmental influence on the Olympics? We'll talk with you and then we'll come back and close out with Brother Eric on this question as well.
Yes, sir. What a beautiful question, Student Minister Willie. I had a conversation, and I try to keep my ears to the streets, stay in tune with the people. And so initially you heard a lot of our people, murmuring about Tokyo and, and Japan, and, the Japanese are so racist for this. But how much of this really directly came from the Japanese? Like you said, how much of America's hand is actually in this? And the question ultimately becomes, does America want the picture of Officer Derek Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck to be constantly being repeated on television screens and monitors all around the globe when they see the athletes having on Black Lives Matter apparel, shirts, and things like this? Because automatically they will say, well, what does this mean? Why do they have on this? And then that would be the answer. And the picture's worth 1,000 words, dear brother.
That's a very good point, Brother Eric. What do you think about that? Because that would definitely be a black eye for America, that during these Olympics, people are showing that gruesome picture that resulted in the death of our brother George Floyd.
Well, people have already seen it. It's already worldwide. So that's why this doesn't make sense. So when you look at the fact that it's already worldwide, I think what they want to do is out of sight, out of mind. That's why they run these games.
That's right.
Sport and play. They want you to forget about it. As they say, forget about it. They want you to forget about it. Well, but you can't forget about it. Every time a Black man show up and every time you see a Black woman, you're actually looking at Black Lives Matter.
Come on.
It's ingrained in the minds of the people throughout the world. So it's already been shown. So for them to offer it as a way of just having the Olympic Games without any disruption, it doesn't make sense. Because just because I wear it and I play in it, they playing in it now. But they said this, and I close the point. They said you can wear a shirt that said peace on it. That goes in hand in hand with Black Lives Matter.
That's right.
So they said you can wear these various slogans on it, right? But that connects also with Black Lives Matter. So again, to me, it just doesn't make sense, and I think it's just a waste of time, and it's just news that they wanted to put out there before the Olympics.
It looks like the Olympic Committee is putting their knee on the black man's neck as well. They're just trying to silence out anything black, brother.
So to that point, brother Karan, you know, normally just sometimes in human nature, that if you tell somebody not to do something, they do it anyway. So with that, do you think that they're going to be athletes in America all around that's still going to say, you know something, I'm doing it anyway?
I really honestly and truly do believe that that will be the case. But even I think an even more solid show of unity would be for the black athletes to get together and just don't go to the Olympics. You know, show out the power of our unity and come together. And, you know, they, believe it or not, just the black basketball players, if they got together and got on TV and played a pickup game, they get more ratings than the NBA without them. So think about that. You know, maybe this would be a time for us, while we have the spotlight on us, an international spotlight, to actually show the power of our unity and withdraw from the sport and play for just a little bit, you know?
You know, and I can see them doing that in basketball, because in basketball, you're right, beloved. That's an excellent example, because they already basketball play all the time and, you know, across the world, right? You know, but for those who like for track and field, you know, many of them are gymnastics. Many of them don't even, it's every 4 years.
That's right.
So this is another reason why they put that out there, because they know it's been a dream of these athletes to play in the Olympics.
Beautiful point.
You know, to run in the Olympics, you see? And so this is why they throw it out there, because they know they're not going to back away. But if they did take your point, which I'm 1,000% agreement with, if they did take that point, it will force the IOC and the NOC to have to reevaluate that statement, because America do want to win gold medals, because America win more gold medals in the Summer Olympics than they do in the Winter Olympics. So can you imagine all black people that decide to stay at home, and what the quarter mile would look like, what the 4x4 would look like, what the 4x1 would look like? You know, you might just win the gold medal in swimming.
That's right.
Wow. Well, we thank you all for your insight, brothers. And what we're going to do, we're getting ready for our next break, and we'll be back with our contributors, and they're going to talk about some of these recent attacks on religious houses in America, specifically recently on a synagogue.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Surveillance footage showing a man hurling rocks through the doors and windows of houses of worship in New York City left community leaders on edge. Over the weekend, police arrested a 29-year-old man on a hate crime charge in connection with the vandalization of several Bronx synagogues, which included the destruction of prayer books.
Hey, Jordan, why did you throw those rocks at the synagogue? Do you want to explain? 39-year-old Jordan Burnett was walked out of the 50th Precinct Station House handcuffed and shackled, looking dazed and confused, and finally mumbling right before he was placed in the police car that Jesus is his savior and that he did not throw any rocks. The Bronx man was taken into custody at 3 a.m. Saturday morning, riding a bicycle against the flow of traffic when police say he became uncooperative and would not show an ID. They took him in for questioning and discovered he fit the description of a man wanted for questioning in connection with several incidents of vandalism at 4 Riverdale synagogues.
You've got the combination of very advanced detective work, intelligence, analysis, surveillance, patrol, working those streets using their instincts. You throw all of that at an investigation like this, and you don't know which one is going to be the one that's going to crack it. But you use those resources, and then you reach success.
Both the
So we'll start this segment off with you, Brother Karan. So what is the Nation of Islam's position on such crimes which have resulted in the arrest of this 29, or they say 39, and some reports say 29-year-old suspect? Well, our brother has fell off, so we'll go with you, Brother Eric. What is the Nation of Islam's position on the vandalization of houses of worship?
Well, beloved, that is not our way. That has never been the way of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Since we were established in 1930, you have no historical record, showing that we, the Nation of Islam, are nowhere in our teachings that we teach a person to go out and behave in such a manner. There's nowhere in our literature, it's nowhere in the Holy Quran that we read, and we're totally forbidden, as the minister teaches us, to destroy any property, especially where Allah, God's name is being remembered, because that's a place of worship that we can go to. Oftentimes when I'm traveling down the highway going to another city, I see a church, and sometimes I say, man, I need to go make prayer, right? So that is our thought process, that I know that any place of worship, regardless of its faith expression, is a place that we can find solace in, or we can find peace in.
Good. And I know, my brother, we're in the month of Ramadan, where we've been asked to read the Holy Quran every day. And I know I consider you to be a Quranic scholar. Is there any specific guidance found in the Holy Quran regarding what should be a Muslim's conduct as it relates to situations like these?
Yes, the Quran really, it forbids us. Again, there's nowhere in the Holy Quran where it tells us to violate. Even in the history of Islam, in many of the places where we went into and Islam became the dominant faith, we never destroyed the relics of the places of worship that became under Islamic rule. We allowed the people, even when you go into Spain, and look, when Spain over 700 years ago, when the Moors were ruling Spain, the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion was permitted to everyone. So that is our history. That is our Quran, where it says evil is a bad name after faith. See, so if a person expresses faith, whether they're Christian, whether they're Jew, whether they're Sabaean, if they will have their day with their Lord, the Quran teaches us, and they are our brothers in faith.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, and with that being said, Brother Eric, why is it that you are a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and you're a student of the Holy Quran, and you're a Muslim? But many people will think that members of the Nation of Islam will be cheering and condoning such behavior because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is falsely labeled as an anti-Semite and the Nation of Islam as a hate group. Why do you think that there's this misunderstanding when you just clearly articulated that we not only condemn those type of behaviors, but in our religious belief, we are told to oppose such activity?
Yes, because everybody has an agenda. You see, what would happen to the American economy if everyone became Muslims under the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, right? Following the tenets of the Quran. What would happen to what would happen with alcohol? What would happen with cigarettes? What would happen to the pork industry? See, so when we're looking at these things, you're looking at an economy that will fall. And what is this economy based on? So all throughout the scriptures, you see the men of God opposed by the leadership of government. And the question is, why? Why do they have to lie? Why they can't just say, well, okay, well, he didn't say that, we just oppose him. See, so it's because they have an agenda. Because as the Quran says, and the people will follow him. And if everybody followed him, then what type of country will you have? And what would happen to this American economy, this capitalistic society that you see? So they want to continue to muddy the waters with falsehood, muddy the waters with lies, muddy the waters with that which is just so untrue.
Yes, sir.
And thinking that the people is not going to, thinking the people are going to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yes,
well, we're seeing that the people is not drinking that Kool-Aid today.
That's right. And so our brother Quran next is back. And brother Quran, brother Eric just closed out on the question I asked that, you know, he articulated what the Nation of Islam stance is on attacks on houses of worship, where we don't condone that. We actually condemn that. And religiously, we are instructed by Allah God to intervene on such acts. So with that being the case, why do you think that there's still this image of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as being anti-Semitic, and the Nation of Islam would be in favor of such acts like that when you know we are not?
Well, dear brother, it's the same forces that went against Jesus of the Gospels in his day. You know, Jesus, the son of Mary, the master teacher, when he walked the highways and the byways, healing the people and teaching the people, there were those who they were called or styled as scribes in the Bible. And they would say all manner of evil against Jesus. Jesus would heal the people and they would say, well, he did it by the power of Beelzebub, or he did it by the power of the devil, or, you know, they would say all manner of evil against him, that none of it was true. And he was a man who dedicated his life and literally gave his life to the point of death and suffering for the people. So we see a mirror of this in this modern time in the man that we so love as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the advice that I would give, the brother who was caught hurling bricks and things, I would advise our brother to look at the criterion message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He didn't tell us to throw bricks. He said hurl truth at falsehood until we knock out his brains. And the minister further points us to the Bible where it says the battle is not ours. That physical battle is the Lord's. And so come together. Our unity is more powerful than a brick and a rock. Dear brother, our unity is more powerful than an atom bomb, says the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I would suggest for us to come together in unity so the Lord can fight that battle. Because as long as we're still mixed up and up under our enemies and all in between and surrounding our enemies, how can the God fight our battles with us in the midst of them? Let's come together, dear people. Let's have our own schools. Let's have our own institutions. Let's do for self, plant our own food so that we can separate from those who we see as our oppressors, and the Lord can fight our battles.
Yes,
that
sir.
is how we're instructed by
yes, sir. Go ahead, brother Eric.
Yeah, and at the core of it is when we have our own, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach us, we want people to show the same level of respect that we show.
Come on.
So this is why we do not celebrate. This is why we do not participate in flag burning or taking down the flag and, you know, and doing things of that nature, is because one day, and we stand at attention doing the national anthem is because one day when we have our own, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan teaches us, is then we would want the same level of respect, because when people see, well, no, those are respectful people, then they too will show the same level of respect that we show. And that's why I gave the history of the Moors in Spain.
If I may, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
Think about during the time when we go back into the scripture, Jehovah didn't tell the children of Israel to go out with nets and catch all the locusts in the land and then unleash them out on Pharaoh's people. Almighty God just commanded the locusts to attack Pharaoh and his people. He didn't send us out to catch frogs or the slaves to go out and pour blood into the water and all these things. The Lord did that. So, dear brothers, don't go out muddying your hands. This is not the way. This is not the way of God. This is not the way that we are instructed in the Nation of Islam, especially for those members.
And Brother Eric, we have about 2 more minutes before we go into the break. Can you explain, is it true or is it false that as members of the Nation of Islam, that we are not to carry weapons?
That's right.
Can you elaborate on that before the break?
Yes, and that we don't carry weapons. You know, we don't carry as much as a penknife. That's right. And so as my brother Quran was so eloquently explaining, is that vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Because look at our community and our condition.
That's right.
Instead of making a point of argument with intelligence and knowledge, and I get in my emotion, and if I had a gun, then what would transpire? You see this wonderful discourse that you and I and our brother Quran is having? You know, so what if it got a little heated and we were together and we had weapons? What would that cause? But that's right. But however, as we're taught that we don't care as much as a penknife, and that we let our words be that which we use, because as my brother stated, the scripture says, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. All through the Quran, you see that, and through the Bible, you see that.
Brother Quran, we have 1 quick minute. What are your thoughts on that in 1 minute?
Yes, sir. Our power, 10 black men organized and united look like 10,000 to an enemy. So if we come together and organize, we come together and clean up, because I don't want to go to war with nobody high and drunk anyway, because they're going to leave me out there. They how can you have my back? You out there lifted. So with that being said, let's clean up. Let's stand up. Let's come together in unity, and we're stronger than any weapon, anyone. No weapon formed against us shall prosper, says the scripture.
Thank you all, brothers. And we also thank our people. We see you all who are commenting. We appreciate your commenting. We're going to pause and we're going to go into our next public announcements, and we'll be back with our last segment.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline memorializes the late, great DMX. Last week, DMX's life was celebrated at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Large crowds gathered to honor the legend. They were there to remember a man who wasn't afraid to express his pain with the world. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke via Zoom to the large audience. He delivered words of comfort, wisdom, and guidance to everyone under the sound of his voice. DMX will live on. This FCM volume number 29 edition features the middle page article is a transcript of what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at the memorial. To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the NNVnews.com Final Call cover report.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
Critical race theory recognizes that systematic racism is part of the American society, and it challenges the beliefs that allow it to flourish. Efforts have been made to include critical race theory in lower and upper educational curriculums throughout America. Recently, in several states, legislation is being drafted and passed that bans critical race theory from being included in educational curriculum.
Welcome back. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis blasting critical race theory and banning it from the new statewide civics curriculum. DeSantis echoing former President Trump when making that announcement yesterday.
Our schools are supposed to give people a foundation of knowledge. They're not supposed to be indoctrination centers where you're trying to push specific ideologies. Let me be clear, there's no room in our classrooms for things like critical race theory. Teaching kids to hate their country and to hate each other is not worth 1 red cent of taxpayer money.
So, Brother Eric, we'll start off with you. Should critical race theory be included as part of the educational curriculum in America?
Well, first of all, what are we talking about when we say critical race theory? Right? It's a social construct. It was developed. The term was coined by a legal scholar named Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term CRT, right? And she notes, or he notes, that it is a noun. It is not a noun, but a verb, right? It critiques how social construct of race and institutionalized racism perpetuates a racial caste system that regulates people of color to the bottom of the tiers. So that's one aspect of it, right? So we can agree with that, because if I want to teach Yakub history, that is history. And as the governor stated, that is knowledge, teaching you where you come from. Now, if you feel a certain way about yourself after that, then that's on you. So it's not necessarily about indoctrinating people to hate themselves. It's because that's the way you teach it. Right? But if you don't have envy or hate in your heart, you can teach knowledge or give knowledge without it coming across as a way of indoctrination or causing people to hate themselves. But there's another aspect to this critical race theory that deals with also recognizing race as an intersect of other identities, including sexuality, gender identity, and others. You see? So now it's getting that term I used earlier into this slippery slope. Right? When you're dealing with transgender, right? Where boys can say they're girls and girls can say they're boys, right? And now you're muttering again the curriculum. But what is at the root of this? At the root of this, I want us to understand this point. At the root of this so-called conservative governors are passing these bills. This is a war between Caucasian conservative mind and the Caucasian liberal mind. And guess who's in the middle of this social construct? The so-called African-American mind that was made in America, that is caught in the middle and is being used by the Caucasian liberal mind. See, so this is a war between two Caucasian mindsets that wants dominance. This is one reason why you're looking at Joe Biden as the president, this liberal as the president. Right. So what you're dealing with is this mindset of Joe Biden, the liberals, telling the white conservatives, hey, man, look here. If you come this route, you can still be in the rulership, because black people give almost 95% of their vote to the Democratic Party. And regardless of our scholarship, this is the mind that we produce, not the mind of separation. So I agree with certain aspects of it. To your original question, I agree with certain aspects of it, that we should be able to teach knowledge without it being an indoctrination into a person that would cause them to hate themselves, because we all come from a state of a position of life, all people, that is not so to be spoken of. But Allah found a way to raise us all up out of that condition. So we do definitely need to teach that history.
So, Brother Quran, so like as Brother Eric mentioned, and repeating what I think it was the governor or the mayor who said, he talked about how they shouldn't be taught. So he actually said it was unpatriotic. So is the inclusion of critical race theory that challenges On the surface, it challenges systematic racism in American society. Is it unpatriotic from your perspective?
Well, dear brother, we look at the foundations of America. In a way, you can say it's unpatriotic because America was founded on slavery and oppression. America was founded on the extermination of the original inhabitants of the country. And then it was built on the backs of those that they went across the seas and captured and brought across, and many, many of us died, as we know the story in that. But we look at in the monumental revelatory book called Closing the Gap, Torchlight of America, by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he stated that the true purpose of education was for the cultivation of the mind, body, and spirit of the individual so that they can take fast to their true purpose in life, which is to become a reflection of your creator. So what is that saying? So we look at the educational paradigm given to us in America or in this international power structure, and we look at it, and what has been taken out of the educational system? God. They've separated church and state. They've taken God completely out of the education. So we got some major plagiarism going on, because if God is the author of all truth, if he's the author of all knowledge, how can we possibly take him out of the situation? So now we get what we see today. We get conflict, we get confusion, and we get a knife sliced through what's considered truth. And now it's, well, what truth do we want to tell or not? How much truth do we want to reveal? Because, and when you get down to the articles and you listen to the interviews by some of these governors and state officials, it comes down to hurting the feelings of people. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want people to feel guilty. Well, sometimes the damn truth hurts. Sometimes it does. So maybe we do need to feel guilty if we are guilty. Maybe we should feel what we are. Maybe if we have a hand that can help in changing a situation, and that hand is not helping in changing that situation, then maybe our hands are a little more dirty than some of the current people in the major society think they are. And I'll stop there.
And Brother Eric, you mentioned President Joe Biden. So in articles that I've read in preparation for this, it said that his administration has been supportive of the inclusion of critical race theory. So should this be considered as a positive sign that his administration will advocate on issues that are important to the Black community?
If you look at it from that perspective, yes. Because because you got to remember, that's the same individual who a major participant in the crime bill. So he feels that in his mindset of what he did in '94, that what he do now as the president versus being the senator is he's righting those wrongs, but he's not righting the wrongs, right? He's still wrong because of what was done. And this would not change his administration and their beliefs and support of the critical race theory will not change or undo what was done. So I don't think it's unpatriotic. I think that when you're looking at critical race theory, I think that we should be able to have dialogue in the classroom, about these things. But you can't control people's emotion. Like, I'm from Texas, right? But I'm from the state where they say, I'm from Texas. What country are you from? This cowboy mentality, right? So the two bills that through the Texas legislature would bar the teachings of critical race theory and academic discipline that views race as a social construct and examines how racism has shaped the legal and social systems. See, because they don't want people to know who they are and where they come from. So as a former classroom educator, if I desire and I want to go in the classroom and teach Yakub's history, the making of Caucasian people, you telling me that is unpatriotic? That's asinine. You see? So no, it's not unpatriotic, right, to teach knowledge. The problem is when you begin to change the textbooks and when you begin to say that slavery wasn't really slavery in the Texas textbooks. You see? And so now you want to come back and begin to introduce or ban things because you don't want your people looking a certain way when they are wronger than, as we would say, wronger than two left shoes.
Yes, sir. And thank you. And Brother Quran, we'll close out with you on this question. You know, some black people will see this and may get excited and say, hey, they're going to include critical race theory into the school system, so my children are going to learn about this. Should we as black parents leave the responsibility of teaching our children about the devastating impact of white supremacy and even the great accomplishments of black people throughout the world history to the school systems?
Oh, beautiful question, brother. Minister Willie. Beautiful question, brother. I would have to say this, and I really I hate to disappoint our dear black parents, and you know, so many of us that's getting so excited. But I have to be true to the teachings that have lifted me up out of the mud and given me something to say today on this wonderful program. And that is, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us that if a man doesn't treat you right, then you cannot expect him to teach you right. So number one, we must not put our trust in our 400-year slave master to teach and train us, especially our children, because the parents aren't even there in the school. And once those doors close, the teachers can teach whatever they want. So what must we do? We must separate. We must have our own schools, our own institutions, because I got a question, dear brother Willie. Mm-hmm. Would it make sense for a person that's in power to give power to a person to come into their system, pay them to come in and teach the very truth that would dismantle and destroy their system? Does that even make sense? I don't even expect them to do that. You know, when you really think about it, can you ask a man to pay you to come in to destroy his house? No, it doesn't even make sense. So the only sense is for us to start the groundwork to have our own institutions, start the groundwork, start coming together, pooling our resources. If you own a property and you're not doing nothing with it, get together with 5 black teachers who can get together with 5 black philanthropists, who can get together with 5 black, contractors and so on, and let's do for self. Let's have our own institutions. I think that is the best and only solution.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate both of your commentaries, brother. And I can see our people that are in the comment section, they appreciate it as well. For those who are in the comment section, make sure you hit the like buttons. Make sure you hit the love button. We're not asking out of vanity. This helps to increase the opportunity of this coming across people's timeline on social media. And make sure you also subscribe to NNV. This is not just a regular, just not your norm. This is not your just some people who have an internet show. No, this is a national network view. It's daily. A network news network is daily every day, especially Mondays through Fridays at 5 p.m. Central Time. So we love your support. Thank you all who've been supporting us. Tune in to get your black view and your black news from National Network View. This is your brother Willie Muhammad. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.